It's time for us to make a change and take back the USA.
Hello, Jason Christensen here again. We are down to the last few days before the Utah State GOP Republican State Convention, which is on Thursday, and the final vote tally will be on Saturday. An announcement on Monday. But anyway, this video, I don't have a pre-typed script, but I want to go into a very serious topic. I was talking with a friend who is a delegate that was asking my opinion on a number of candidates and issues, and at the end of the phone call, this is the type of friend that I already know I have his vote, but I still ask the question, what question you have for me? And he paused for a second. He's like, well, his question was, what do I see as the main top issue going forward? That took me by surprise. And it's like, okay, what's the top issue? Those many issues. You can go right down the list of gun rights or the lands issue or money or the debt or taxes, whatever it is. But I stopped there and paused and contemplated for a little bit. And it dawned on me, the number one issue, and please do not think I'm crazy as I say this, but the number one issue is the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, takeover of our country and this state. Yes, the CCP takeover of our state and the nation, especially this state. Politicians and candidates are setting us up to be taken over. You know, they are either being played or they'll intentionally giving the CCP full reign and control of this state. In 2010, there was a remake from a classic movie called Red Dawn. In this movie, there was a EMP, electromagnetic pulse, that went off, and the next morning, the North Korea invaded by airplane, jumping out of airplanes. And government allowed them to take over. They didn't fight back. Well, our Utah's Red Dawn moment isn't going down that way. It occurred to me that Utah's Red Dawn moment is exactly what the CCP has in store for this country, which is to not just a fundamental change like Obama mentioned, but it's establishing a new China. They're losing control. They're losing control, especially with the virus of mainland China now. But the goal is to establish a new China over here in the Americas. But this may seem far-fetched, but it's true, and I'm going to be going into the facts for you. In 2010, actually go back a little bit further. In 2006, 2008, 2006, John Huntsman Jr. led a group of businesses over to China to establish commerce. Seems harmless, sounds like a good thing. But is it? in 2008, about the time that he was 2008, he helped introduce he was introducing Gary Herbert to all his contacts in China. Good thing, or is it? With the new president in 2009, Barack Obama, the same candidate that says we're going to fundamentally change America. Some people call him the Manchurian candidate. I'll let you figure out why later on as we go into this video. He nominated Republican Governor John Huntsman Jr. then, with Gary Herbert taking over instead to be the new ambassador in mainland China, in Beijing. Now, what I'm going to say is I have the facts for you to connect the dots, and I have family that's my wife and other members of my family are Chinese from mainland China. Family currently in China and family here and friends on both sides of the Pacific. But John Huntsman Jr., while ambassador in mainland China, he helped expand the EB-5 visas. Now, in case you don't know what the EB-5 visa is, EB-5 visa was a relatively new visa created in 1982 for foreign immigrants with special traits like education, science, etc. That has $900,000 US per year, making that much money per year, or at least in the bank account, but at a minimum of $900,000 US to get this EB-5 visa to come over here for research or study or anything else. Now, the value of the Chinese yuan is nothing compared to the US dollar. It was fluctuating between 7 to 10, but that could be changing now because of the constant quantitative easing that both nations, China and US, has been doing for many years, especially now with the CCP virus. But the people in China, the regular free-thinking Chinese in China, do not and have not had that type of money. The only people in mainland China that has that type of money is the CCP, for the most part. So why is he helping expand a program in John Huntsman Jr. as our sitting ambassador, expand the EB-5 visa for members of the Chinese Communist Party, which is known throughout all of history to be a lying, murderous regime? Get special treatment, EB-5 visas to come over here. Why did President Obama know about this? I suspect he did. In 2010, we also got a new U.S. Senator elected from this great state of Utah, Mike Lee. Mike Lee, personally, it is a good guy. I like Mike. He's done a lot of good things. That's why I think he was kind of ignorant, or maybe he didn't have an option when he was told to do so. But he helped expand the EB-5 visa in Washington, D.C. The first four to six the first 4 to 6 years of his first term in the U.S. Senate. So you have U.S. Senate, and keep in mind, Mike Lee also used to be the legal aid to John Huntsman Jr. when he was governor. And now this year, the new Manchurian candidate running for governor, John Huntsman Jr., got the endorsement of Mike Lee. The same John Huntsman Jr. I'm running against for governor of the state of Utah. The only true anti-communist running, and only true conservative running for governor. In 2011, Gary Herbert had a meeting of, for the NGA, the National Governors Association, with all the governors coming to Salt Lake City for this great big meeting. At this meeting, you have one press agent, American press agent, that had press credentials, but then had them revoked, by the name of New American Magazine, a magazine that is known to be anti-communist. But then you also have media outlets such as China Daily, which is owned by the Chinese Communist Party. And that's it. Only the Chinese media, which is state-owned media by the CCP, and the New American Magazine, who had the press credentials revoked at this meeting. So with only the state-owned media from the CCP, owned and controlled by the CCP, what did they talk about? Including the CCP officials, top of it, that attend the same meeting. What did they talk about? In 2013, I ran against John Curtis, but while the current sitting mayor of Provo, who during this year hosted a Provo Plus 50 event with the key officials of the state of Utah, the current bishop of the LDS Church, well, back then in 2013, a number of other questionable people that were able to attend this meeting in Provo, Utah. Once again, what was discussed? And, you also have cities like Taylorsville adopting Provo, the same city, Provo, adopted what's known as the sister city program with one city over in mainland China. Same thing with Taylorsville. Has it adopted at one time those sister city in mainland China, in which case the sister city in China for Taylorsville is, well, it's a small country town according to my wife, whereas the sister city for Provo, it's quite a large city. Jumping forward a few years, you also have in 2018 a piece of legislation known as the Inland Port. Mirroring, Idaho also has something passed since 2011, Inland Port, of 60 square miles that they stole from the citizenry. But here in Utah in 2018, they stole 16,000 acres of land in Salt Lake County, a major land grab, where in this legislation they stole, in order to fund it, 50% of the usage tax, or i.e. gas tax, 50% of the sales tax of the gross total amount, and then the leftover amount of the property tax dollars that's not used by the cities and counties. 100% of what's not left over. To fund this land grab, this monstrosity. What is their intention? The CCP's intention is to use these different zones, economic development zone or inland port or whatever you want to call it, to build up industrialized cities similar to Shenzhen in China. Industrialized cities where the military arm of the CCP owns and controls the whole thing. In this legislation of the inland port in 2018, they utilized the federal code, the free trade zone, foreign free trade zone, where the original legislation was created in 1932 during FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt. Under these free trade zones, American laws do not exist. The only laws that would exist are the very laws that the foreign entity would have. So you have China law coming to Utah with this inland port. Now, granted, the legislation doesn't say China, but as we continue on, I'll help connect the dots so you can see that it's for the CCP. In 2008, they just made it for Salt Lake County for the inland port. But in 2019, they expanded it. It gave this political subdivision of the state this not just power, equal power, if not more power than the state legislature themselves, which is blatantly unconstitutional according to the state constitution. But they expanded the powers where they could utilize the eminent domain feature anywhere in the state if they saw a need, a project in any county throughout the state of Utah. Their intention is to create this inland port, this industrialized city, free trade zone for the Chinese Communist Party for the entire state of Utah, where Utah laws, United States laws, do not exist. That's their intention. This is our Red Dawn moment. And that might seem a little far-fetched for you, but in last year in December 2019, they rammed down our throats a tax reform bill, piece of legislation that allegedly cut taxes. But in all reality, it was the biggest tax hike Utah has ever seen. Creating and applying sales tax to every service imaginable in the state of Utah. Creating a new food tax, even though they already collect sales tax on food. Adding sales tax to the gas pump, so double dipping at the gas pump. Raising the gas tax. Sales tax and gas tax would have been the highest throughout all the nation. They eliminated all the tax credits. Yes, they did cut 3 pennies on the dollar of income tax, but that does not equate to a tax cut when you're jacking up taxes and taking away credits across the board. raised regulation at the oil refineries, raised the taxation with the mining coming out of the ground, environmental issues as well. And how can you grow a business with environmental, but yet they still did it, added to the bill. The people spoke up during the Christmas break, made them listen, where we gathered over 160,000 signatures, a referendum to stick this bad tax hike on the ballot. And what the first thing they did during the session of this year, first day, was repealed it because they did not want to see it come back to bite them in November, when people are electing the new representatives. During the legislative session this year, State Senator Andrick talked about and wanted to pass a multi-billion-dollar light rail project to southern Utah. Why? And once again, I hope all of you are taking notes and with the pictures that I'm sticking up on the screen for you to look at, as well as what I'm saying, taking notes and remembering as this video continues on. You know, here in Utah, those a business alliance that CCP owned, that controlled those Confucius Institutes in every major university in this state, at least, and so many throughout the country, including Harvard, which called Confucius Institute. That's CCP controlled, meaning learning the languages and seeping in and getting your spies in with the language, alleging that they're teaching the language. And there might be some teaching going on, but it's mainly being used for spycraft, espionage. In fact, Governor Herbert is ranked the 15th friendliest governor out of all the governors of the United States, according to the CCP, according to this documentation that I got hold of from Beijing. Very interesting stuff, and I'm not even done yet. In 1992, sorry, scratch that. In 2012, there was a legislation and investigation about the pros and cons of communist China by the United States House of Representatives. But I want to focus, and feel free to go read the 100+ pages report, which helps expose the CCP. But what I want to focus on in this video is the 2019 investigative report by the United States Senate. In this report, it talks about the full, complete knowledge and help that the United States State Department, so yes, ran by Obama, the ambassadors, so yes, John Huntsman Jr., did regarding this agenda, this 1,000 talent agenda that the CCP has to commit espionage in our nation, in other nations, but especially our nation, using this 1,000 talent agenda. They have full knowledge, if not helped. With the State Department, it was regarding EB-5 visas. The State Department, this report, and also talks about the Confucius Institutes in every major university throughout the country. Committing espionage, especially Harvard University. Talks about the main goals, not to basically to infiltrate every aspect of the American culture, but especially economics. Gee, they have many business. The CCP has many businesses and assets here in America. I covered one of those alliances here in Utah with the image. Sciences and education, Confucius Institute, regarding health and diseases and cures, diseases and cures, and biological and sciences. That sounds like what we're now currently suffering from, the CCP virus, or what politicians wants to say COVID-19. But I'll get to that after I finish with this 2019 report. It also talks about sister cities program, committing espionage to find out everything they know, everything they could about our governance in cities, but also to take advantage and take more than what is offered. In fact, Taylorsville City in the minutes talks about the fact that they didn't have the money for the sister city program anymore because they were giving more than what was being offered. Talks about sciences regarding mining, talks and extracting resources from this country. That sounds familiar too, what we covered earlier on in this video. In fact, I'm of the belief that Senator Andrick wants this light rail project for the coal mining here in Utah to ship out all of our coal and natural resources in southern Utah out to mainland China, running through the inland port. And as you can see in the documentation, that I've shown you in this video, where I'm coming up with that that theory. The FBI also knew about this agenda and did nothing. We funded several of the governmental programs, the alphabet soup, as it were called, as the CCP was learning from us, committing espionage on us in all these different programs. Those programs helped the CCP. We've been set up for a Red Dawn moment for the CCP to establish a new China here in America. Now, I said I would talk about the CCP virus. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, just enough to hammer the point across. Last year, about November, I think the end of November was when the scientists in Wuhan made the mistake by carrying the virus out of the lab 100 miles to from the market where they found the first few cases. And ever since that mistake, China people has been suffering from it. Millions upon millions have been affected by this virus, by the CCP virus. At least 2 or 3 million dead from this virus in China. Yeah, none of these facts are being talked about in the mainstream media, partly because the CCP owns and controls the World Health Organization and the United Nations. You know, the same sources that so many news agencies and governmental agencies get the facts from. They own a number of the news agencies here in America, political being one. And I have my suspicions that KSL here in Utah is another. Our current Secretary of State confirms many of these facts, Don Pompeo. But regarding the KSL, a personal friend of me and my wife's, was just before she got out of China, before Donald Trump made the correct decision of shutting down the borders back in January. Saw a KSL article in their news, was able to see the KSL article on the internet in their news in China. And keep in mind, internet and news is state-centered, showing the referendum results of the success that the people had to push back against the government. Why would China allow Utah news to be broadcast all the way over in mainland China? Back in January and February, when me and my wife were trying to buy masks to prepare for our family on both sides of the Pacific, the N95 masks and other supplies, it was hard to find masks. Every place was selling out. And this was before the mad rush to buy toilet paper here in America. Because what you had was the CCP utilizing their WeChat, utilizing WeChat, and WeChat is basically the Facebook of the CCP, China, for the Chinese, to not just with the agents, but with regular Chinese nationals that that may or may not work for the CCP, but they lured them in, saying, "Hey, we need masks for China. Please go out and buy them and send them home, send them back." Many of the Chinese here were duped about that. Many full knew what was going on. The Chinese people are not to blame for any of this CCP virus, any of this tyranny. The Chinese people are not to be blamed for it. Blame the CCP. The two completely different topics. The Chinese people are a good, traditional people, conservative people, hardworking. The CCP are a corrupt, lying, murderous machination seeking to control not just billions of Chinese in China and throughout the world, but they're seeking to control the world in itself. But anyway, getting back to the point, they were doing this through WeChat. Since the CCP has become a big issue here in the country, certain governors, certain States have been imposing the same type of tyrannical edicts from the top down, saying of lockdown orders, saying what you can and cannot do. Not telling the truth that N95 masks actually help the healthy if they wear masks, as well as the sick. Refusing to acknowledge the medicines that actually work, that Donald Trump supported. And I support the medicines as well. The hydro, it's proven to work. Not just proven to work by a Chinese doctor, but as well as a French doctor as well. As well as zinc and one other medicine. Not promoting promoting the need for a vaccine, which is impossible to create. No one will ever create a vaccine, but so why do they want to create one? To control a virus that's always changing, similar to the HIV virus. That's how the CCP created this virus, was they combined the HIV virus with the old SARS virus. That's why it affects the lungs like it does, but it also attacks the immune system. And it stays in your body, sometimes even after you get done being sick. That's why it can be in your body even if you're healthy. And you're just as a carrier for the virus. That's why N95 masks help. So why are they talking about the vaccine? To control the people. There's a reason why my wife hates the vaccine push in mainland China, and why I hate the vaccine push here in America. Because the governments are seeking control and domination over our liberty. In fact, let me just say it right here. Here in America, we have the law, the Constitution. In China, they do not. But it doesn't matter if you have the law or not. You should not ever need to shut down the economy. You should never have to impose tyrannical edicts, shutdown orders, quarantines to control this virus. Yes, this is a biological weapon, but it takes true leadership to tell the truth to the people, especially Americans, about what this thing is. The best way is to cure it, to fight it, to kill it, so that the people, and especially Americans, can be innovative enough to do so without government. In fact, more of the stats regarding the virus. Italy, outside of China, has been one of the hardest hits, spread by a CCP agent. Every major country that's been affected by the virus has had the CCP influence in tentacles, weaving in and out of the country. So either if it's England or us or Italy or Spain, especially Iran being a puppet for the CCP for the longest time. North Korea, a puppet for the CCP, greatly affected. The tentacles inside Korea and Japan, which though not doing as good as the media are saying. Countries like Taiwan, who's always been suspicious of the CCP, has been the best nation with zero impact. Very, very, very little impact, if not cured now. Utah without tentacles. It's not bad, but then again, Herbert's also the 15th friendliest governor throughout the nation to the CCP. Cuomo, it's bad. Cuomo is in the state of New York is the worst. Not only do they have the CCPs involved in the biggest Chinatown throughout the country in New York City, Cuomo is the top 5 least liked by the CCP, but yet the liberal anti-American communist policies in the state of New York seriously was a detriment. The guy was an idiot. Not bad, just an idiot. California, bad. One of the top friendliest governors and economies to the CCP for the longest time. But every major area where that's been hit the hardest has had the deep connections to the CCP. In closing, those solutions that we have right now at this time, I don't see us having very many elections after this election, if not this being the last one. But starting this year, we must drain the Utah swamp. We must or the swamp in any state or community or nation, get rid of the CCP entanglements throughout the country. I copied the 25-page class action lawsuit and tweaked it for Utah to sue the CCP and all their assets here in America. That's another solution. And feel free in the comment section if you want to sign on board with your name to this list, because the class action lawsuits require a number of parties involved to sue. You know, and there was a similar lawsuit out of Texas suing the CCP regarding this virus that they created, that they inflicted upon us. You know, we must extract and get rid of every single politician that sold us out and drain the swamp in our communities, our states, and our nation. And so far, here in Utah, to some extent, we've been doing that already in the county conventions, and hopefully this next week we will be successful yet again with either myself, with myself, Tim Mulders, John Swallow, and others to be elected to drain the swamp and get rid of the ties to the CCP. Start to get rid of a lot of the ties, actually. For example, Francis Gibson, the sponsor of the Inland Port 1, 2 in the tax bill. Many of the elected officials in the state of Utah, out of the campaign, campaign disclosures, paid money for hotel air travel to mainland China, and a lot of them actually state delegational trip. So once again, what types of policies did they talk about? I'm looking at every proposed bill in the special session now, and so many legislations in the last couple sessions that have CCP ties, direct ties to. In fact, I'd probably say all the bills this year, right now in the special session, have ties to the CCP. You know, the gubernatorial candidates running against me for the governor's office. Amy Newton Winder was there in Taylorsville City when they adopted and when they had issues with the sister city program. Greg Hughes, the former House Speaker of the House here in Utah, not only served many years on the UTA that needed to be privatized if not reformed, but in the port was also his baby to help create and he was actually sat for a short term on. He also donated money to the CCP. Those documents. The proof about Andrick's campaign financial disclosure. Francis Gibson spending all his thousands of dollars for these delegational trips in China. The Senate President Stuart Adams. Cox running for governor is the lieutenant governor, which basically he's working for Herbert, so he's a wannabe. The solutions are electing better people to drain the swamp at all levels: city, county, state, and national. To cut those ties, to sue the CCP, the citizen initiative to do so, and seize all the assets, especially the organizations that's such as the CCP's company, the PLA, that's been supplying all these medical masks and equipment that may be contaminated. If they'll definitely flawed product, proven to be flawed and defective, if not defective. But sue the CCP, elect better people. And if we can't fix things that way, the only other alternative is get prepared for the coming war on our soil. Because the people are fed up. Me being one of them. I want my country back. I want my free country back. Just like many of you. I hope you enjoy this video. Like it, share it as many times as possible. This information needs to get out. Thank you. Bye.